Hello YouTube and welcome to the Armourer with me Blue today, and we're gonna be talking about the banned and restricted announcement that we got the other day, as well as a couple of spoilers that we received today. So starting right off, we have classic restricted no changes, and here they talk about how after Icelander and Lexi the meta has been wide open, and we have seen a lot of new decks pop up and win tournaments like Kano, like Bolton. Bolton didn't win but top 8'd and so on. Next we get to Blitz, where basically they say Wildfire and Sturdy Eater wins are completely okay in the Emperor, so that's why they're going from banned to legal. Snapback, on the other hand, is a card that is going to increase the kill range of the Emperor by quite a lot, and is staying banned for that reason. And Centauri Sabers will be the signature weapon for Kasai and will be legal for the release of heavy hitters. So basically here they set the precedent of, sometimes when we reprint a hero like Prism, we're going to give it a new signature weapon like we did in Dusk Till Dawn, and sometimes when we reprint a hero like the new Smoke Kasai, we're just going to reprint it with its old weapons, and its old weapons will continue to be legal. Next we get to Living Legend, where we see a very large list, right? Like 7 cards being restricted, meaning that you can only have 1 copy of them in your deck. The cards are Awakening, Channel Lake Frigid, Crippling Crush, Hypothermia, Oakenode, Starstruck, and Warmonger's Diplomacy. All of these cards have seen play at like 3 copies in Bravo Star of the Show decks, so now you have to refuel 18 slots or something like this in your decks in order to make them playable again. Realistically, what Star Wars players will do probably is just add something like Chokeslam, Crush the Weak as an additional disruptive attacks, and just increase the count of Ice, Lightning and Earth cards in order to make their ability even more consistent. Here they talk about how they want the Living Legend format to be a wild, kind of aggressive format where everyone gets to do their cool combo big turn, which is why they are restricting all of these cards. Warmonger's Diplomacy, Hypothermia, Channel Lake Frigid. They do not want these cards to be chainable into one another by certain decks, kind of like stopping you from playing the game for larger periods of time. In my opinion, that's a completely okay decision for Living Legend. I'm talking about Channel Lake Frigid, right? Because Channel Lake Frigid, in my opinion, is not that big of a problem, and I'm happy that they never removed it from Classic Constructed. But in Classic Constructed, the game was slower, and Channel Lake Frigid was often kind of used as a controlling tool. And there really isn't any control in Living Legend, because the aggressive decks are way too aggressive with Stubby Hammers and Art of Wars and Mask of the Pouncing Links and so on for 5, or just Chain getting to banish like 5 or 6 playable cards with like 3 blues in the hand and just pop off. Another thing is you have setup decks like Prism, Icelander, and Runechant Viserai, which are also going to kind of poop on every deck who is trying to go for a slower, let's say, fatigue line of play. So Channel Lake Frigid is realistically just here to be a very strong tempo card, so restricting it makes sense in that context. They talk about how Bravo Star of the Show is probably going to continue to be the best deck, or like at least one of the best decks. This is probably the most interesting thing from this announcement, right? Is after all of these restrictions, how strong will Starve really be? In reality, we're getting into heavy hitters, which is going to have like 2 new Guardians enter. The meta is probably going to have a bunch of Guardian cards, and you know, like maybe some of these cards are going to be good enough in order to make it into Starvo's Living Legend lists and make him stronger. In like a year or something like this, we will probably see a set similar to Dusk Till Dawn, but this time continuing the Tales of Aria storyline. And if we get some decent elemental cards from there, Starvo is also going to get even better. It's not like other decks are not going to be getting better, right? Because we inevitably have to receive a new wizard as well as like a new rune blade in Classic Constructed, and with those, you know, like Viserai and Icelander will be getting new cards, and that's going to kind of make them even stronger, you know, in Living Legend. But it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to see how the meta is going to evolve after all of these restrictions. And yeah, I'm kind of thinking, wouldn't it have been better to just remove Starvo from the format as a whole, if we need to restrict so many cards, right? Because maybe Channel Lake Frigid in Oldhim and Icelander is not that bad whenever Hypothermia is also restricted. And you know, maybe we don't restrict Starstruck and Crippling Crush from Bravo Showstopper, because I'm pretty sure he isn't that big of a problem, you know, compared to other decks. And finally, we have Commoner with Amulet of Ice and Stubby Hammers being removed from the format, and them talking about how they kind of want these bans to help a little to help like slower decks actually have a chance to succeed in the Commoner format. And then we talk about the end of the suspension kind of keyword. You know, they talk about how they use suspend to indicate that they are only removing this card because of a certain hero, and instead of that they would just call it a banned card and then just explain that it is because of a certain hero in a comment below the decision. Similar to how they're doing right now. So yeah. Next we have Heavy Hitter spoilers. First we have 3 blue cards, all of them very similar. We have Smashback Elhorn, a brute action, 0 block to create an agility and a might token, go again. At first I thought this is going to be a brute Movrian Skies, but then I read the agility token, and agility is not quicken, you know. It's going to turn on at the start of your next turn. So even if you make it at the beginning of your turn, it's just going to stay there and do absolutely nothing until your next turn. So this is a setup card, it's not a combo card. And kind of the same applies for all the rest. Create Might and Vigor for the Guardian, and create Agility and Vigor for the Warrior. I kind of doubt that any of these cards are going to see play unless we receive heroes that really care about those specific tokens, or like any tokens for that matter, because they are just setup cards on a blue slot that also blocks 2, and you really prefer your things to be blocking 3 in those heroes specifically. Then we have a Wage Might, Wage Agility, Wage Vigor, and Wage Gold. All of them do the same. They're basically 3 cost, 7 power, 2 blocks that allow you to wager the name of the token. So we wager Might with Wage Might, and it's only for Brutes and Guardians. With Wage Agility, it's Brute and Warrior. We wager an Agility token. With Wager Vigor, we wager a Vigor token, it's Guardian Warrior. And with Wager Gold, the most interesting of them all, not only do we wager Gold, which seems to be the highest value token right now, but also it has the keyword Universal, which means while in any zone, this is the same class as your hero. So in Guardian, for example, you'll be able to play some of these cards that pump your next Guardian attack by like 6, 5 or whatever, and wage gold will be considered a guardian attack, so you will be able to kind of buff it with those things. Same for brute, right? You'll be able to play these cards that say your next brute attack is going to get some amount of benefit, for example like Blood Rush Bellows, buffing your brute attacks, and this is going to be considered a brute attack. So seems like the most playable of all of them. But once again, we kind of have to see how much and if the new characters are going to be caring about these tokens as a whole, right? Because we have Kasai right now, and Kasai really cares about gold, because gold allows her to just draw a card by cycling, and drawing a card makes all of her weapons cost less this turn. So in that case, like every gold token generated kind of gives her at least 2 resources, and that's pretty good. But is it going to be true for other heroes? I don't know. We don't know yet. In terms of how these cards are looking for kind of like the limited of the set, they're looking very cool, right? Because the set right now looks like we're just going to be attacking each other and just passing tokens around the table, especially if we play it in like a UPF setting, especially because of the blocks, because now you actually have a reason to be playing the block cards, especially if you're expecting everyone to be running things like Wage, Agility, and Gold and Vigor and so on, because you'll be able to block them with a 3 block and your block card, and then maybe you trigger the clash, generating yet another token, and you start your turn with like 3 different tokens, and you can maybe do some crazy turns like that. So it's definitely going to be fun and a little bit less competitive, I guess. But yeah, out of all of these, I feel like Wage Gold has like the highest potential of seeing actual play in Classic Constructed, and we finally have Sonata Galaxia, being a new Runeblade card that says this costs 1 less to play for each rune chant you control. Its cost is double X. Then it says search your deck for a Runeblade aura with cost X or less, put it into the arena, then shuffle. If X is 2 or more, this gets go again. So basically we need to search for a 2 cost aura in order for Sonata Galaxia to get go again. In order to play that for free, we will need to have 4 rune chants on the board. And if we want to search a 1 cost aura, which there's more playable 1 cost auras at the moment in my opinion, we will not get the go again, but we will only need 2 rune chants in order to be able to cast it for free. This being a tutor for the aura that we play in Vincent that gives us rune chant every turn seems very good. I'm kind of excited to try it out in Vincent, because Vincent runs so much smoother with that aura on the field, and having a tutor for that sounds pretty good. You know, because sometimes you'll be able to do something like Moving Skies into attack with the Vincent attack that generates rune chants, and maybe generates 2 rune chants. Maybe like the Moving Skies is yellow, it hits, it generates 2 rune chants, but you're kind of like out of cards. You can just play a Sonata at that point, grab the aura without destroying your own chance, without swinging with a weapon or something like this, and it's going to be a very, very good turn if we manage to hit that sequence. And yeah, that's about it. Tell me your opinions and expectations of the set and the spoilers that we received. My expectations so far are that these are just going to be cool in draft and not really CC playable outside of maybe Wage Gold, because the universal keyword really helps it see playability maybe. So yeah, that's it. Bye bye, see you next time.